this is not just affecting a worker here and a worker there. This is about destroying the protections that we all need, and we need to back these people and make sure that they are protected against this assault on them, because it's really an assault on us.
Jeremy Brecher is a historian, documentary filmmaker, activist, author of books on labor and social movements. His work has centered on understanding and nurturing the process he characterizes as common preservation, in which individuals and groups shift from futile and or self-destructive efforts at self-preservation to strategies of collective action to promote their mutual well-being. Jeremy, welcome to the Valley Labor Report.
Hi, great to be with you.
Hey, thank you so much, Jeremy. Sorry we kept you waiting a little bit long. We got riled up about Alabama politics. But, you know, we wanted to bring you on for a couple reasons. For one, you do have a new book out, so that's always a good reason to talk to you. But I also wanted to just start with the Labor Network for Sustainability. I know that's something you've been involved with for some time, and I was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about what it is and why y'all do what you do.
Well, Labor Network for Sustainability is, first of all, a group that's part of organized labor, works within the labor movement, and its purpose really is to help unions and other working class organizations figure out positive ways that they can be involved with protecting the climate and protecting the environment. You know, we're all told over and over again, oh, we have to choose between good jobs on the one hand and protecting the environment on the other. And that's the opposite of the truth. The truth is that protecting the environment, protecting the climate can be one of the best ways, if not the best way, to create good jobs and to create a more just and fair society while we're at it. Those ideas are the core of what's known as the Green New Deal, which is creating jobs in order to protect the climate and protecting the climate as a means of creating good jobs. And that's the topic of the book that I just came out with, called The Green New Deal from Below, which shows that ordinary folks and city and state governments and local communities all over the country are creating their own Green New Deals from below. And that's a big part of what we're about at the Labor Network for Sustainability.
Well, so let's pick up there with the Green New Deal from below. I'm curious, what did you find in the process of writing this book? What are give us some hope. I need some hope today. So give us something positive that you uncovered while writing this book, and some of these stories of building a greener future with better jobs from below.
Well, I didn't start out knowing that all this was happening, but as I began digging around and finding out what local folks were doing around the country, it was quite amazing. And in the book, I have 100 examples of Green New Deal from below type programs in 40 different states. They're in the red states as well as in the blue states, Republican states as well as Democratic states, in the South as well as in the rest of the country. And I'll tell you the one that I most recently learned about actually after I'd finished writing the book. It didn't make it to the book because I just found out about it recently. In DeKalb County, Georgia, which is a county outside Atlanta with nearly 1 million people, they have their own DeKalb County Green New Deal. It's been going for 3 or 4 years, and they have created a plan for reducing their greenhouse gas climate destroying emissions to zero over the coming decades. And they have 20 resolutions that have been passed by the county for different aspects of both climate protection and job creation and challenging forms of injustice there in DeKalb County, Georgia. And the county commissioner, who's one of the main people who's been pushing it, said, well, we wanted to see what we could do right here in DeKalb County on our own without anyone else having to pay for it or anyone else telling us what to do. And so we've made a Green New Deal for DeKalb County based on who we are and what we have to work with in our own home place here. Now, let me give you, just to go to an opposite part of the country, the Boston Green New Deal has been going for about 4 years, and I'll just give you it's many, many aspects. It's created a youth jobs program for training young people, often young people who've been in trouble of one kind or another, and from the poorest parts of the city, giving them training in jobs that will help protect the environment and protect the climate. It's created a free food program for 50,000 Boston's school students, and the food is produced by a worker and Black-owned cooperative in one of the poor neighborhoods of Boston. They have created a free transit program for major parts of the city, and they've launched a Boston Green New Deal schools program, which is doing major construction projects to build and refurbish the public grade schools and high schools of Boston, which of course is also something that creates lots and lots of good construction jobs. So there's a couple of examples. They're in very different parts of the country, but they are both examples of people taking this basic idea of the Green New Deal from below, basic idea of meeting our climate catastrophe in ways that help us create good jobs and more economic and social and racial justice, putting those things together in the form of a Green New Deal from below.
Yeah, I really appreciate those examples because I can't help but think about the moment we're in terms of the federal government and the absolute hostility to responding to our climate crisis in any positive, meaningful way. So the idea that local communities and local and state governments are getting involved and making progress is exciting for sure, and hopeful, in the situation. So we had a question in the chat, and I was wondering if you could expand on this a little bit. What makes a job a good job? When we talk about, a Green New Deal and making sure that the green energy sector and these climate resilient jobs are actually good jobs, what do we mean by that?
Well, it's a good question. And of course, for every one of us, I'm sure the jobs that some of us would love, others of us would hate. So I don't think there's a universal answer to it. But there certainly are some common traits of good jobs. One is that it pays enough that you can make a decent living out of it. Another is that the job isn't going to make you get sick or kill you, that it's a safe and healthy job. Another is that you're not going to be treated like a slave or a peasant. And that means having the ability to organize with your fellow workers and have a union if you decide that that's what you want to do, and be able to address the conditions that you face and the conditions of your job in a way that has not just a slave who can be told to do anything and abused in any possible way, but means that you have an organized power with your fellow workers to be able to be at the least an equal partner in deciding what your job is like and what's the conditions under which you work and how much you're going to get paid. So I think those are almost universal pieces of what makes a good job. And of course, for every individual, then if it's totally boring, that may be nice because you can just turn off your mind and maybe listen to something on the radio like this program. And for other people, that would be absolutely horrible, and it has to have some kind of variety and opportunity for creativity in it. Those things can vary, but the core elements of any good job is to provide you enough money for a decent life, and that it be healthy and safe, and that you have the dignity and power of being able to organize with your fellow workers to be able to have a fair share in determining what life on the job and the conditions of work and wages are like through organized unions and worker organization on the job.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, we are a union talk radio show. We are union activists ourselves. And I'm really curious what you have discovered in terms of the labor union's engagement with this. Because you started off and you mentioned this, and I'm glad you did, that we've often been presented a false choice in our society that you have to pick between, the economy and good jobs, or saving the planet and the climate, right? That we can't do both. And obviously, as your work points out, we can. It's very possible. But we've seen some of those sorts of, contradictions bubble up even inside the labor movement at times. So, what have you seen in terms of the unions being active in making this Green New Deal a reality? And maybe what are you not seeing from the unions?
Well, great question. The book, The Green New Deal from Below, has a whole chapter on union-based Green New Deal from Below projects. There are lots of them all over the country. One of my favorite is from the United Mine Workers, which is one of the unions that's been least supportive of climate protection efforts because they're afraid it'll hurt the jobs of coal miners. But it has been deeply involved with a major project in West Virginia to create 300 jobs for a battery plant that will be making batteries for solar energy. And they are working to make those jobs be jobs for unemployed coal miners so that they can, instead of being unemployed, be able to make a decent living for themselves, being part of the transition to a climate-safe economy. But that's just one example. And in fact, in all of the coalitions that are supporting Green New Deal from Below initiatives around the country, in virtually all of them, unions are involved and are supporting it. And also, as the Green New Deal from Below type projects are developing, unions get to put in their view about what it should include, what it should look like. I've actually got two other chapters in the book on what's come to be known as a just transition. And the point of a just transition is, yes, some people may, in fact, be harmed, workers may be harmed, communities may be harmed in a few cases, but important cases by the transition to a climate-safe economy. Many, many more jobs will be created than will be lost in the transition to a climate-safe economy. But every job is important if it's your job. And so the people who are making plans for how to transition to a climate-safe economy have to make sure that they make good provision for people who otherwise might be adversely affected. And that's often referred to as a just transition, and it's happening in all kinds of cases. Just to give you an example, Illinois had just passed a major climate protection law, vast investment in climate safe energy, closing down on a phased transition basis of coal-fired power plants throughout the state. But as they've done that in the legislation that requires that, it also includes substantial investment in the communities where those plants are being shut down, often investment in new forms of renewable energy and job production through that, and also widespread support for, in fact, they have a displaced worker Bill of Rights that provides both financial support, retraining, and priority access to new jobs for anyone who's negatively affected by that transition. This was very much a program that was written by the Illinois labor movement and incorporated in that legislation, along with climate and social justice provisions.
Hey, 5 seconds. Just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tblr.fm/donate.
Well, that's really positive to hear. Obviously in Alabama, we are a little bit farther away from that, I guess you could say. But I really, that's inspiring to see that there is action happening, all the way up to the state level. Like I said, in the midst of what is, really severe hostility to this from the national level. And so I wanted to kind of round us out by drawing upon some of your work. You wrote the book Strike. You've been studying labor for a long time. And, especially when we talk about environmental justice and really saving our climate from utter catastrophe, but also just the broader future of our labor movement, I'm really curious, what you think in terms of the moment we're facing right now and what labor can and should be doing to respond to this moment. And I know that's a big question, but, I'm curious just, what is on your mind right now and what should be on the mind of labor's leaders?
Well, things are moving awfully fast. And so I do my best to take a shot at that, but we may know more tomorrow than we know today, and we may know more the day after that. But what we know is, I think, plenty to begin answering your question, as long as we don't think it's definitive and we keep light on our feet like a good boxer, so that we're able to pivot and respond to the emerging situation here. Basically, I think we can say that our government, our federal government, has been captured by a group of billionaires who have no concern whatsoever for ordinary people. In fact, as far as you can see, they snicker and get pleasure when they do things that involve cruelty, like splitting up families, making children starve, and any number of other depredations that are aimed at terrorizing and immiserating ordinary folks. And we've only seen a few weeks of this, but that appears to be what's going on. That is particularly aimed at organized labor. The people, for example, Elon Musk, who is now, as they say, presidential buddy number one, is a complete opponent of unions. He's actually gone to the Supreme Court to try to have the National Labor Relations Act, which is the primary act providing rights for working people, get it declared unconstitutional. And the Trump administration has done mass firings to public sector workers and has basically halted all the operations of the National Labor Relations Board, which is the one place that workers can go if they get unjustly fired and illegally fired, persecuted in other ways on the job, or refused even the right to meet and organize themselves on the job. So that's what organized labor is facing, and also not just people who are in unions, but that's really indicative of what's going to happen to working people as a whole. Anybody who has to work for a living is going to be facing the federal government being on the side of their employers in every way that the people in charge of the government can figure out to do. So that's what we're up against. And I think the first piece is to name it and say it, and not pussyfoot around, and not say, oh, maybe if we act nice, these people will act nice to us. And we're now seeing the beginning of that with unions and the American Federation of Labor, AFL-CIO, Labor Federation, coming out and actually demonstrating in Washington against the policies of the Trump administration. So there's a start there, but it needs to go a lot faster. You know, if workers don't work, Trump and his cronies can't do anything.
Right.
We're a long way from the kinds of action that would be involved with that. But, you know, when Trump stopped the government, had the government shut down in his first regime, we actually came right to the edge of a general strike of public employees to force the reopening of the government, and that forced him to back down. You'll find more about that in my book, Strike, if you want to get a quick refresher course on what happened with the government shutdown that Trump tried to pull off in his first term, and the incredibly effective worker mobilization against it. So I think we have a power there that we can use as working people, that we should have think about how to use and maybe begin testing out some of the steps we can take toward using that power to stop this incredible attack on us. The other thing I'd say about it is that we need a new level of solidarity, not just among people who work directly together in the same workplace, but among workers in different workplaces, in different industries, in different sectors, whether they're high paid or low paid. We're all threatened by this together. And specifically with the attack on government workers, you know, they said they wanted people in Trump's entourage have said they want to fire as many as a third of all government workers. Well, these are the people who keep our water safe. These are the people who see that our schools are operating. And this is happening at the state level as well as at the federal level. These are the people who fix our roads and see that our traffic systems work. And of course, you can just go on and on and on. It's not that people say, oh, they're going after the government. They're not going after the government. They're going after our society and our ability to live together and have a way of life together here in our country and on our planet. So I think backing each other up, not just different organized union groups, although that's very important, but one of the things I'm trying to work on now is helping people understand that the attack on government workers is also an attack on the climate. Government workers are the people who protect, go to the coal-fired power plants and measure the pollution that they're putting out and make sure that they're not violating the law by putting out even more carbon pollution than they're allowed to, who protect our water supplies, make sure that no industry is dumping poisons into our reservoirs, And of course, I could go on with many other examples. I'm sure all of your viewers here can easily think of those in their own life and the things that are protecting them. So I think we have to think in terms of all of us supporting, in this case, the public sector workers, the government workers who protect us. And I think that's maybe is going to be the next, since they've been the main first target of the Trump anti-labor, anti-worker attacks. That may be the first part of our defending them and saying, hey, this is not just affecting a worker here and a worker there. That's not what this is really about. This is about destroying the protections that we all need in order to have a safe and decent life. And we need to back these people and make sure that they are protected against this assault on them, because it's really an assault on us.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Jeremy. I think solidarity is the way we pave a path forward, and I appreciate you ending on that. And was there anything else you wanted to leave us with before we let you go?
Oh, this is great. I'm great. We're very happy we're having this discussion. And the one thing I would say that's a lesson of my Green New Deal from Below book is that people who are in the South and the Gulf region, they know that they're up against even tougher problems and challenges than people who may be in other parts of the country, but that isn't stopping people from fighting back, and it isn't stopping people from building pieces of the world that they want to see through the Green New Deal from Below.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Really appreciate your time. And again, the book is The Green New Deal from Below, and I hope folks will check out Labor Network for Sustainability.
Yep, really appreciate your time.
Great.
There was a comment in the chat said all those solar panels are going, they're going to build where I live will be right up next to homes too, and people are pissed. I think I was able to get the message in between the kind of strange grammar, and it's that people, and here's how I know that you listen to too much like conservative radio or conservative online people, because just normal people who are not politics brained, like you or me, frankly, right? Like I can, this person, Let's Talk USPS in the chat, like is very clearly a politics brained person, which is fine. I mean, like, I'm a politics brained person, right? I live and breathe in the news, and I'm constantly thinking about it. I'm constantly reading about it, and I'm constantly listening to shows about it. And so, you and me are the same in that way. And because we are that way, we do not think about things in the same way that other people do. And so when I talk to normal people who are not politics brained about this kind of stuff, they think that solar panels and wind farms are cool as shit. Like they just think they look cool. Like I remember before all of this politicization about and polarization around quote unquote clean energy, I remember taking trips to Indiana and Illinois with my parents who are conservative Trump voters, and we literally, I don't even know if it was legal for us to do this, but we literally, at my dad's, a Trump voter, at my dad's interest, pulled off into a wind farm field and like parked next to one of these wind turbines and just looked at it, because we were like, we're just country bumpkins. We ain't never seen nothing. They ain't never been nowhere. This is cool. We're getting power from the wind. Ain't that the coolest shit you ever seen? Right? That's what normal people think. They think these wind farms, they look cool. The solar panels, they look cool. And we marvel at the engineering capabilities of the human race, right? That's kind of like, that's my base. Like if you're on the kind of, oh, people don't like the way wind farms looked, like, I can just totally, like, that is not a normal person opinion.
Well, I also don't like Cancer Alley in Louisiana, where fossil fuels literally kill people. Don't like that either. It's also amusing when people think that they are more well-versed on this science than actual scientists.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could believe the scientist, or I could just believe this guy in my YouTube section.
On Facebook.
Yeah.
The meme on Facebook. And then there was another one from Mark saying that if you get fired, you can just get a lawyer. And, you know, Mark doesn't realize it apparently, because Mark is a union letter carrier, that people outside of union workplaces do not have an affirmative right to due process. So if you are fired outside of a union workplace for any reason or no reason at all, you have no recourse unless it is explicitly and provably because of discrimination or some such other illegal thing. But they can fire you for no reason, right? If you work in the private sector and you don't have a union, they can fire you for no reason. And so Mark, apparently, you know, and here's another, like, you don't live in the real world kind of thing. You don't understand how the real world works. And this is talking about, like, what is a good job, you know, that conversation with Jeremy. What is a good job? A good job means, in part, you know, having dignity on the job and being able to assert your rights and things like this. And so Mark apparently doesn't realize that people outside of union workplaces do not have a right to due process, and they can be fired for any reason or no reason at all, more or less. And I think that's bad. And I think that when management does want to fire somebody and take away their livelihood and put them at risk of economic destitution, that they should have to have cause for that. They should have a system of due process, and employees, workers, should have recourse. And it sounds like Mark thinks they already do have that. He just doesn't know anything, and that's fine. But now you know, hopefully. Here's another one. If workers don't work, Trump can't do anything about it. 60,000 just retired. Here's another thing that Mark doesn't know. Mark apparently doesn't know that something on the order of 120 to 200,000 federal workers leave the government every year for one reason or another. They get a new job, they retire, or something like that. And so you would think with this buyout proposition, which is ostensibly going to be paying you for basically 3/4 of the year without working, that you would get 3/4 at minimum. Like the very, 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 very minimum bar for this buyout to be a success is that it captures everybody that would have retired or left the government over the next 3/4, right? That's the very minimum bar for success. And guess what, Mark? It hasn't reached that yet. They have not even captured every single federal employee that would have retired but for this buyout proposition over the course of the next 3/4. Okay? So, you know, I'm informing you and now you know, but it's easy to see big number and kind of be impressed if you don't know anything. But now you know something about it. You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.